You're listening to another great podcast in the MyMac Podcasting Network.
TechFan podcast number 502. I'm Tim Robertson, and that's David Cohen. Hello, David.
Hello.
How are you this fine Sunday morning? Well, afternoon for you.
We've both just been complaining about how tired we are.
Yep, tired. I've got a busy day ahead of me today and next week, and
Yep.
you know, car business never stops. Everyone's always buying cars. Usually January's pretty slow, but I was actually really busy this last month.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
the usual things in economies and all that are all changed at the moment, it seems like.
Yeah, but when you need a car, you need a car.
Yeah, I know. But that's what I mean. It's not necessarily as seasonal as it normally is.
No.
I think a lot of people have been putting decisions off for a while, and they're now going, right, now we're going to do it.
Yeah, I had a couple of those. You know, it's been a pretty weird January in that we had a lot of snow, we had a lot of school closures, and so I wasn't expecting to sell a lot of cars, but I ended up selling a lot of cars.
Yeah?
Yeah, which is good because that's how I make my money. So
Obviously, yeah.
yeah, that's a nice thing.
I was in Paris last week, and I hired a Tesla and drove that for a few days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty good.
It was, well, the annoying thing about the Model 3 is that when you sit inside it, the inside of the car that you can see is not the full width of the car, right? It kind of bulges out below the cabin line, and you can't see that from inside the car. And then when you go abroad and so you change seats to the other side as well, it's very difficult to judge where the edge of the car is.
Yeah.
So I curved it a couple of times, which was kind of annoying.
Tesla has a recall because some light, I don't remember which light now, on the dash is too small to really see.
Well, I don't get Tesla keeps saying they've got recalls, but all they do is do software updates because there are no physical lights on the dash. It's all in that one big screen.
Right.
And both Charlotte, my 14-year-old daughter, and I, when we got in the car, we both agreed that was kind of stupid. In fact, there's lots of things on the Tesla that are kind of stupid. When we got out to the car, obviously with a rental car, they don't give you, they can't give you like the phone app or anything like that. So they gave me the keys, and the key for the Tesla, I didn't realise at the time, is just basically like a credit card, so an NFC card. They didn't tell me this, so I get out to the car and I can't get it open, and I'm looking and I go, well, I've got no button. And I thought maybe I had to wave it over the lock, so I did all of that, didn't do anything. So I went back inside and said, I can't get in the car. And they go, oh, you not had Tesla before? And I went, I don't know why they were Spanish, because it was Paris. I went, no, I've not had a Tesla before. Oh, we thought you knew Tesla. So anyway, they took me out there and they showed me how to open it, which was to take this card and to wave it over basically swipe it down over the metal door frame behind the front door.
Yeah, that makes perfect logical sense.
Well, exactly. And I said to Charlotte, I said, here we are, Elon Musk reinventing something that didn't need to be reinvented.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I get in the car and it was dark and I couldn't see how to get it going because all the controls inside the car, if they're not on the actual main screen, we quickly Googled how to turn the main screen back from French to English. But if they're not on the main screen, you can't see them because they're all black, made in black plastic with raised black patch ridges on, so you can't see them in the dark. And I couldn't see which of the stalks behind the wheel I actually needed to manipulate to get the car going. So we had another 10 minutes head scratching that. And so, yeah, it's an exercise in frustration because actually the core experience is electric car. It's quite good. And it actually drives better than my Volkswagen, but there's so many things about it we don't like. And my daughter and I both agreed having everything on the main screen is stupid. She said there's so much space in here to put stuff, and they've stuck it all on the main screen. Doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what happens is I was joking with her. I said, I hope I don't need to beat the horn at everybody because I reckon that's 3 different touchscreen touches through 3 different panels before you find a horn button.
Tesla had a bad month in PR because it got really cold here in the Midwest, and in Chicago there were hundreds of Teslas that just wouldn't run.
Yeah.
The batteries just wouldn't take a charge. You couldn't charge them. You couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with electric cars, that, we've jumped into this so fast that they haven't fixed these glaring problems yet. It's like, wait a minute. What do you do in that situation? Well, there's no answer.
They haven't tested them for the edge cases. They've tested them for what they think, but that's based on...
Edge cases isn't the Midwest of the United States where 50 million people live. That's not an edge case.
Well, it's an edge case if you live in California, which is where
that's a different case. That's not an edge case. An edge case makes it sound like this is rare. Cold weather in the world is not rare.
Yeah.
And there's fixes to these that they don't bother.
That is, to California, that is an edge case. That's the problem.
Yeah.
People think, where they live is how everywhere is.
And this is why we don't take Teslas as a trade. They're garbage. They're just not good cars. And nobody wants them when they're used.
Interestingly, I think we talked about it. Hertz, who I rented from, are apparently getting rid of all their Teslas because they find them too expensive to run.
Yeah, and if something goes wrong, Hertz people can't work on them.
Yeah.
Like a regular car. Yeah. Or even a hybrid. But a long way to go before, and I still am not convinced electrification is the answer. I really am not, especially with what we have to use to charge them with. So, but, we're not going to get there tomorrow. We're not going to get there the day after tomorrow. It's going to be a long time, unfortunately. But it is what it is. This is a big week in technology if you're an Apple fan, because the Vision Pro was released. Yep. It's in the wild, as they say.
And, of course, we've already seen the pictures of idiots driving with them, walking around with them, all these things that Apple explicitly tells you not to do.
Yeah.
So you get.
Well, you have to hook it to a Mac, don't you?
What, to start it up? No, it's a independent computer. Yeah, but the shtick, what Apple has pulled off here is that the augmented reality pass-through is the best that anybody's ever done. That's why it's $3,500. But the problem is that still doesn't mean it's good enough to just keep the things on and use them to look at the world through when you're doing life-critical things like crossing the street or driving a car.
Yeah, you look like Apple an idiot if you do that.
Well, not if you look like an idiot, but it's dangerous because you're effectively looking through a screen.
Yep.
And the screen is going to have delay, and it's going to have things that it may not pick up and that sort of thing. And if you're doing something like driving a car, then you're an idiot. Quite apart from why should you be driving a car when you've got computer displays coming up in front of your face? Ridiculous.
That's called a Tesla.
No, because these are right in front of your face, rather than the only good thing that Tesla has going for it is that all that stuff is kind of down out of your vision, so you can't really get distracted unless you look at it. However, unfortunately, a lot of it you need to look at in order to drive the car. So
it's dumb.
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, I'm reading a lot of the reviews. A lot of people are saying it's heavy, to which I go, duh. First generation product. It's I'm still trying to figure out what it's for, though. I haven't got to that. I still don't know what it's for.
It's a different way of computing.
Yeah.
But whether we need it or not, I think the jury's still out. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who say, "Well, I'd rather compute using a screen, and then I'm open to the world. I can see what's going on around me, rather than because the problem is, even with the pass-through, you are effectively closing yourself off to the world."
Yeah.
Now, my view on that is that most people will like that. Most people walk around with their faces stuck down in their phone, and the ability to do that without actually looking down the phone and hold the phone, I think that's going to be attractive to a lot of people when the price is right. But there's a long way to go to get to that, and in the meantime the platform has to kind of take off and survive with the fact that it's $3,500 and not many people are going to have them. And it's interesting to see. I think the developer community seems to be embracing it more rapidly than perhaps we first thought. There's most people who seem to get one seem to think it's really cool and want to develop for it if they're developers. Obviously, what we're not seeing at the moment, because it's mostly developers who can afford to buy them, is we're not seeing what consumer interest would be. It's because at that sort of price, no, it's not a casual consumer purchase. So nobody's picking it up and going, oh, well, I don't know what to do with it, because most people who are buying it have an idea what they want to do with it at the moment, which is normally to develop something or, write reviews.
I think
something like that.
I would disagree with you. I think 70% of people who bought it because it's the new hot thing from Apple and they want to have the latest and greatest thing. A lot of them want to make YouTube videos, and if it was $1,500, I'd buy one.
Yeah, me too.
$3,500, it's not even a consideration. And it's not that I don't have the money. It's just that to me it would be to me, I look at it and I go, okay, at the end of the day, I just have a big screen. That's all I'm getting over and above what I can do with either my phone, my iPad, or my Mac. There's no benefit. None. Well, what can I do on that I can't do with those devices I already have? And if I want to play games, I get the Sony VR because that's the best of the breed.
Yeah. It is interesting that to me, one of the things that holds it back as a computing platform is that it's an iPad on your face.
Yeah.
And I have an iPad, and the iPad is good at a lot of things, but it's not remotely good for everything that I need. I need to have more computers than that. And obviously, with the Vision Pro, you can link it to your Mac and have your Mac screen in the environment that you're creating. But that's not compelling enough for me to want to buy one at that sort of price.
No,
and the other
even
thing
if it is a 5K monitor, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
the other thing is that you and I both know that we've both got the Meta Quest, and it's one of those things you kind of try it out and you kind of think it's cool, but then it doesn't become part of your everyday life.
No, unless you're going to play some games on it often, it's just not worth the price.
Well, you see, for me, I play a lot of games, but I don't play them on my iPad. I play them on my Steam Deck, or I play them on a computer. And that the app Vision Pro does not help you there. You can't even, if it had an HDMI port and you could plug an external thing into it and put it inside that environment, that would be more interesting. But it doesn't do that.
No.
So, it'd be interesting. I mean, let's remember, this is the first gen.
Yeah, I'm not knocking it for the potential because I don't know what the potential is. I'm knocking it for the price and its limited utility right now.
Yeah, and I think what will happen is the next one will be cheaper, it will be better, and it will also be focused on the things that Apple looks at the market and see what people are doing with it.
Exactly.
Just in the same way the Apple Watch did, where when they launched it had a whole load of functions that there was the touch somebody else remotely function and stuff like that, and it doesn't do that anymore.
By the way, do you have your watch on?
I do, yeah.
Okay, put it in your lap. I'm going to touch you.
No, thank you. Yeah.
So you never know what's going to take off. That's the thing. But launching a new platform, and that's essentially what they did here. This is a brand new platform, even more so than the Apple Watch. This is akin to an iPhone or an iPad. Because the iPad, honestly, is the iPhone. That's what it launched as. It's a bigger iPhone, except you can't make phone calls on it. And that was the appeal. And a lot of people panned it for that, but I remember doing OWC radio at the time when it first came out back in 2010. And I said, yes, that's the point. It's a bigger iPhone. Everything I like to do on my phone that's too small, because remember, we didn't have the great big giant iPad or iPhones yet. I can do it on my iPad. It's better for browsing. It's better for gaming. It's freaking sweet, and I loved it. And I still do.
Yep.
But I don't know what that is with the Vision Pro. And I'm not knocking it for that, because you can't create something new in a vacuum that's for a consumer product that is this technologically advanced without putting it out there and letting developers, because as great as we love what Apple released with the original iPhone, it wouldn't be nearly as popular as it is today, nor the Google platform, if it wasn't for the third parties creating all these different apps to make it much more useful.
Exactly.
Think about your iPhone. How many times do you actually use Apple's own products? I don't use Apple Maps.
No. I use Apple Maps, but I don't use Apple Mail. I use Outlook. I think the vast majority of the apps that I use on my iPhone are not Apple ones. They're from
Right.
third
You're
parties.
using the phone app and you're using messages, right?
Yeah.
Beyond that, maybe music. Some people might use the built-in podcast app, but it sucks compared to the third parties. But that's the point. You got to release something like this out there and let developers show you what's good about this. I don't know what it is yet. Maybe you and I are just too old. We don't have that creative bone that you need in your, mid to late 20s or early 30s to say, oh, this is that. They can see the future. We've seen too much, David.
The only bone I've got aches first thing in the morning, and then the rest of the day. I kind of think, I wish I could have this bone replaced with a new one.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
And look, you and I have both both spoken
We
many
speak
times.
good.
Yeah, about lack of innovation in the phone space, lack of innovation. So everything is a copy of everything else. This is Apple doing something brand new.
Well, no.
Well, no, they are, because their approach they've taken is completely different to what everyone else was doing. VR, closed on headsets, and Apple said, no, we're going to do something different. This is not an entertainment device or a video device. This is those things, but it's actually primarily this spatial computing platform. The idea is that you're going to put your computing stuff hanging in front of your face and you can still see the real world. That's completely different to what pretty much everybody else except for Magic Leap has tried to do with this space.
Yeah.
And I think, thank goodness that Apple has the time and the money and the commitment to actually try and do that. And I hope they stick with it and this doesn't become the Apple Hi-Fi or one of the other products where they've killed it after the first generation because it's not been big enough.
I think this is too expensive to do that with.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think this is their next big play, and they will adapt it based on how the market responds to it. But there's certainly no doubt that when Apple goes big into a market, you expect things to happen. And what have we seen? The Quest 3, which came out earlier this year, had a rapid revision before it launched, so it had 3 color cameras on the front, so it can do something that approximates what the Vision Pro does in terms of it has a mode where you can actually use it and
Pass
see the
through.
environment around you.
Yep.
And already I guarantee you that Samsung and a couple of the other big Japanese manufacturers and Korean manufacturers and Chinese manufacturers will be looking to clone something like the Vision Pro at a lower price point. And those are going to be interesting too.
Yeah, and
So-
that will force Apple to get a little bit cheaper as well.
Yeah, but let's face it, Apple's never going to be. Those guys are going to release stuff around the $500 mark, and Apple's always going to. I'd be surprised if this ever goes below $1,500. No matter
I
how
agree
much
with
they
you.
can
Yeah.
cost optimize it. So, and hopefully, it's always going to be a better experience than those. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. It is interesting to see.
I don't say I hope it's a
Something
better
new.
experience. I just hope that they all get better.
Yeah.
Every review I've read says it's amazing. When
Yeah.
when you're using it, it's just amazing, and it's a very short learning curve because there's no physical controllers like the Meta Quest or the Sony system. It's just your hands, and it does a really good job of seeing your gestures, which I guess it rules it out for porn then.
Well, it depends. If it really does see your gestures, it might make the porn better.
No, I don't. Unless you like the Wheel of Fortune big wheel that spins around. Why is my Windows this constantly? Wow.
I wonder in porn mode what the eyes on the front show.
Yeah. Wow.
Now, no, the thing that does
That's
make
why
me
they
laugh
had the
is,
see-through so you can see the environment.
exactly. That what does make me laugh is the one thing that I think has been pretty much universally panned is this avatar mode where it scans your face and then it produces like a virtual recreation of you to use on video calls, and basically it looks like a bad GTA 4 model of you. It looks like all the faces I've seen look like they've been sculpted out of a potato.
Yes.
And then animated. And yeah, it's just. I mean, everyone goes, "Oh, it's only beta." It's just like, yeah, I think Apple.
They don't come out with it.
That's something where it's going to disappear because it's real uncanny valley stuff.
Yes.
And it's not good.
No,
But,
I want the ones that they showed in Avengers Endgame, where it's just kind of this blue shimmering curtain that I just kind of appear in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you want to look like you're some sort of alien god, kind of coming out of particle physics.
That's right. That's
in fact,
the fun
really,
part.
I mean, I think they should have lent into using the graphics power of this thing to create really cool virtual avatars. I want to look like a horned demon whose head is on fire when I'm on a video call, because that's how I feel most of the time, to be honest.
Yes.
When I'm talking to my colleagues, I want them to feel I am the Lord of Evil, because that's how they make me feel.
So I sent you a video.
You did.
And I don't
did.
know if you watched it or not.
I did.
Now, Cole, my son, 16-year-old, saw me watching this video, and he goes, "Oh, I know that guy, the guy that does the video. I guess he does a lot of these. I'm too old. I don't know." But it was a very interesting video about the new AI pin from Humane.
Yeah.
It's like the front of an Apple Watch that you pin to yourself. And
we've just been lauding Apple for trying to launch something new. This is what happens when you try and launch something new, but you don't have the resources or the engineering talent.
Or, quite frankly, it's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I get the appeal of an Apple Watch mixed with a Star Trek communicator. Great. With a really, really 80s style laser display that can throw out, a simplistic graphic like the time or a text message. But the whole idea behind this is, and number one, the presentation is awful. The two people that run this company should never, ever appear in front of a camera. They are just so bad at it.
Well, it comes across like in order to create this product, they had to sell their soul.
Yes.
But the demon took the soul before they were finished, because they are dead behind the eyes.
There's nothing there. The man and the woman, I don't know who their names are. I don't care. It's awful.
It's part of the thing that the guy in the video, really gets some mileage out of is how lacking in charisma this pair are.
It's so bad.
But the problem is that they are trying to. They presumably have some real passion for this project, though they don't show it in the video. But so much passion that they felt it's our product. We have to demonstrate it. They were some serious Steve Jobs envy going on here.
A little bit.
Yeah, but
hell, Steve Ballmer. Come on.
It's just like if you're trying to. The concept behind the product is really difficult to understand because it's not a great idea. And so really what you need to have somebody who's a great communicator to really try and bring your message across, and these guys fail.
Not only do they fail, the product itself is just a stupid idea. It's imagine Siri or Google Assistant, but no screen, and it just talks to you. And there's a built-in camera. So they show the best case scenarios, and they're like, it's not listening and it's not doing anything until you interact with it. And you're like, well,
it's not recording all the time. Yeah, which is a good thing in one respect, but on the other respect, the problem is that means you've got to interact with it to get it to do anything, and it has no context.
Right.
So we talked about what is the Vision Pro for. The real question for me is, what is this for? What problem is this trying to solve? Because this does nothing that you can't already do on your phone.
Easier and better.
It does it worse.
Yeah. I like the one lady's in their demo is wearing the pin, right? And it's on her chest looking forward. Yeah. And this little kid starts to walk, and he's like, and she touches it. She goes, "Record this moment." You're recording the ceiling.
Yeah.
You gotta aim your chest exactly where, you're wearing it high up on your chest. It's pointing upward.
Yeah. Even when people take selfies for Instagram, they tend to do it in front of a bathroom mirror.
Yes.
Because you can see what the phone is seeing.
Yes.
If you've ever tried to take a picture of yourself using the actual main camera on your phone, and you think, I'll just point it at myself and I'll hit the volume button for the shutter and it'll be cool, and then you come out and you've off frame because you can't see
Right.
where the camera is pointing.
Right.
And we all assume that the cameras kind of work like our eyes and look at what we want to look at, but we don't realize our eyes are kind of swiveling to get that attention, and cameras can't do that. So they just take a field of view, and very often the thing you want is not centered in that field of view. So yeah, this is garbage.
And it plays music. Oh, great, because people want to listen to your music on a teeny tiny, awful sounding little speaker. That sounds fun.
Lots of people do that with their phones, which is really, really irritating. Also, as well, lots of people now do seem to have forgotten that you can put your phone to your head and use it as a telephone. They're all talking to the bottom of the phone, like they're on The Apprentice, with the speaker on. So, again, this is bringing some of the worst features of smartphones to the badge on your chest.
Yes.
Wow. Thanks for that.
It's just awful. The whole execution is terrible.
Yeah. The thing is, this is basically an Apple Watch taken with the screen removed, taken and put on your chest.
Yes.
That is effectively what it is. The world is not asking for that, because most people who want something that does that will buy an Apple Watch or a Google Wear Watch or one of those other things that complements your phone.
And it's $700 to $800.
Yeah.
It's not even something trying to solve a problem. There's no problem that it solves.
Look, I don't think either of us are probably the sort of guys who think that focus groups are necessarily the world's best thing, because I think a lot of things in technology get driven by focus groups and talking to people and getting their ideas. And I think somebody at Apple once said that our job is to come up with the ideas that people haven't thought of. But in this case, you have to wonder, did they ever show this to anybody outside the company? And did those people not give them honest feedback to say, yeah, I don't understand what this is for?
They did. It was Satan. Don't you remember? He stole their souls afterwards.
Because this just looks like, the other thing as well is they did the whole, we're not going to telling anybody about this thing until it's ready to launch.
Right.
Yeah, so there was all this mystery marketing going on. And it turns out the reason for that is because had they told people about this earlier, people would have gone, no, not for me.
Yeah, they'd have been like, that's a dumb idea. Why are you spending money on that? You're not solving any problems. Everything you say this thing does, an iPhone or the cheapest Android device that costs $99 does it better.
Yeah.
It just does it better.
Now, one has to wonder whether they will retain enough funding to actually come up with a version 2 of this product.
This is a dead product at launch. No, this is dead at launch. Anybody who is investing in tech has a phone. They have a phone. I think that they probably pitched this to their initial investors, and I know they kicked in a lot of their own money, which, man, I hope they own their houses, because if you got a mortgage, you're probably going to lose it. Anybody who invests in tech is going to see the demo of it with the shipping product, not a whole bunch of false platitudes before it comes out, and we're really not showing everyone, and pie in the sky stuff that it's going to be able to do. I like they said, and this is running on our own network, running through T-Mobile. Well, then it's not your network.
No,
stupid. That one ticked me off. They're like, it's our network. It's your network inside the device, but it doesn't go any farther.
I don't understand the point of that.
Yeah.
People are not afraid of using cellular networks.
No.
And encryption is a solved problem. So if you're worried about privacy, you don't need to create your own mobile virtual network inside on T-Mobile. You just use their network and you encrypt everything until it goes to where it needs to go.
Yeah, it's. Look, this is a show called TechFan.
Yeah,
I think we're both excited about the Vision Pro, as long as it was affordable. We'd be all in if it was affordable. For us, it's really.
If Apple contacts us after this show and says, "Would you like one to review?"
100%.
I'm all over that.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
So call us, Apple. But if Humane contacts us after the show and says, "Oh, you don't understand our product. Would you like to try one?" I'd try one, but I would have very low expectations.
Yeah, I'd be like, "You're probably not going to like what I say about it, but you can send one." So we're excited about new tech, but this isn't. This is just dumb.
the reality is this has been on the market for a couple of months, and there's been nobody going, you know what, this works for this works for that.
Yeah, nobody is talking about it.
Everyone who got the review units has either not used them or has used them for a day, put them back in the box. So
yeah, no, there's nothing out there on this.
Yeah. The
only reason I learned that was already released, because I knew about it for a little while, was because of this video that just popped up in my YouTube stream. And I was like, oh, what is this? And I was laughing. It was cracking me up. The guy was really good. He's a young kid. He's probably 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
But he nails this thing and destroys these people in this company and his.
It's very well done because he does it in a way where he's skewing in the right things, and
yes.
he's not got too much of that cocky arrogance that we demonstrate, for example.
Yeah, well, we're all bastards.
That's kind of annoying from young people. He really does a very good job on this.
Yes.
And it's entertaining.
Yeah.
And can we talk about YouTube for a minute?
Yeah.
So I'm annoyed because I bought a Samsung phone recently, and I got I tell a lie, it wasn't. It was a Chromebook, an enterprise Chromebook, that I bought used off some guy on eBay, and it came with 3 months of YouTube Premium. So I currently have YouTube without the ads. And you know what? It's really wonderful.
I know.
I'm watching a lot of YouTube because all the ads are gone. Yeah, but the thing is, for me, is that it's great, but it's £13 a month.
Yeah, but we use a lot of YouTube in the living room, and I watch a lot of YouTube, and to me, it's one thing if I'm sitting in front of a computer and watching YouTube, and I have to see an ad every now and then, I'll just mute it and go to a different window or something. If we're watching something on YouTube in the living room on the big screen and an ad pops up, it's awful because it will simply repeat the same ad like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but also,
oh my God.
On a 25-minute video, you'll see an ad 3 times, and it will just stop in the middle of the stream.
Well, that's only because the creator didn't make a logical place to break.
But most of them do that, and the point is that it's awful. Yep. And YouTube Premium fixes that, but it's double the cost of Disney Plus. It's not good value for money. No matter how much you watch YouTube, I would not pay £150 a year for YouTube Premium to not have ads. It's ridiculous money. And that's my problem with it, is that they've basically made the free version so horrible you don't want to use it, and yet the premium version without the ads is unaffordably expensive.
Yeah. And this is from a company that's profiting billions every year.
Exactly, because when you're using YouTube Premium, then they're watching what you watch, and so they're stealing your data at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? So the deal is not there, which is meant to be there. If they said to watch YouTube with fewer ads, you had to log into it, I could live with that. Right? But I can't, this having it free is great, but I'm thinking, I'm just not gonna watch YouTube again after this premium trial finishes, because I'm not gonna pay that sort of money. It's just barking.
Yeah, it's expensive, no question. We pay for it because we watch a lot of YouTube, so
yeah.
Excuse me. It is hard to swallow when it's that expensive and the company's banking that much money. And then they talk about all these layoffs. Google just announced like thousands of layoffs, and it's like, wait a minute, you guys are making bank right now. You guys are. It's not like you. Why are you laying these people off? Because these companies are all driven by Wall Street. Exactly.
And Wall Street at the moment is expecting all the tech companies to be making cost savings. So they all are. They're all copying each other.
Except for Apple.
Well, time will tell.
Well, and Apple's never gone through these big layoffs like this.
Don't they do big layoffs at all, ever? No?
Well, way back in the 90s they did.
Right. Okay.
But that was for a reason. They were going bankrupt. They were going to go under.
Yeah, that is when you expect big companies to make layoffs. But
when your profit is $2.3 billion per quarter, I don't expect you to start laying a whole bunch of people off. That is really bad. Unless you're simply getting rid of divisions that aren't performing and nobody's buying their product, and Google Music, for instance, has gone bye-bye. I get you got to let those people go. But when you're just kind of laying a whole bunch of people off to trim costs. Really? You need to trim costs now?
Because they need to make more profit. $2.3 billion a quarter is not good money. You're barely hanging on by fingernails there, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these big companies need to stop listening to Wall Street way more.
Yeah.
But they'll never do that.
No.
Oh, well. It is what it is, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
We did get some feedback from Jason Harris on Facebook. He wrote, I listened to the current episode of TechFan, which was 2 weeks ago, because, time. Or no, it was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or 4 weeks ago. I don't know. The last one. He said 2 things. Both my parents were born in Lynchburg, so I have known about the city. I still think that's a hilarious name for the city.
Is that Lynchburg, Tennessee? Is that where Jack Daniels is based?
I don't know. Maybe.
Pretty sure it is. Yeah.
You could be right. The other thing is that I gave up drinking Coke back in 2016. Most people snort Coke, Jason. So the fact that you were drinking it, wow, you were hard. I think he means Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was kind of worried because that, the acidity value of Coke.
There's a Lynchburg in Virginia as well, so I don't know which one we're talking about here.
Yeah, there could be. I don't know. I know Lynchburg, Virginia is probably larger.
Yeah.
But I don't remember where I saw I have no idea.
I might be dreaming Lynchburg, Tennessee, because after all, I'm not American. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, that goes without saying. We just accept that. Something I've been following this story for a while, and I've had I've known about it.
Was there nothing more beyond the Coke?
No, that was it.
That was it. Okay,
yeah.
All right. Okay.
He's given up Coke.
He's given up Coke. Okay.
Because remember, I said I gave up drinking soda, and you're like, you're drinking water and it's soda, and it's not soda.
Yeah, we should. Let's face it, we should all drink water.
Yeah.
Rather than all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Well, I like water dredged through coffee grounds.
Well,
that's
that as well.
That's my favorite water.
I'm also a fan, but sometimes you want something cold, and I don't mind cold brew when it's hot. I can't drink cold brew just when it's not hot. So.
Well, it's called cold brew.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about when the temperature is not hot. I don't like
coffee. No, if I have a cup of coffee and it gets cold, I'm not drinking it.
Yeah.
My wife will microwave her coffee to make it warm, but I don't know. There's something about that turns me off.
So there was a story in the British press a couple of weeks ago where I think some YouTuber had done, this is the way to make tea the British way. She was American. And I don't disagree with some of her recipe methods, but she had that American thing of always heating up the water in a microwave.
Yeah.
And apparently that's a no-no for tea. There is something about that process. I don't understand why, because it's only energy in water. But there's something about that process that apparently destroys the tea. And you really do need to boil water for tea in a kettle, not use a microwave.
When you boil water, it stays hotter way longer than if you microwave it. Way water. It's not even close.
Yeah.
Speaking of the UK, I've been reading about this story for a while now, and I was wondering how much you followed it. Living there. So a bunch of UK postal workers. Now, this is different there than it is here. So for the American listeners. When we think of the postal, we think about this government building and mailman coming out, but it's different there. So, first of all, explain what the postmasters in this scenario is.
Okay, so Royal Mail, which is the
equivalent of the post office,
the equivalent of the United States Postal Service, was privatized in the 90s. So it was,
which is always a great idea.
Yeah, so it's a private company. And what they did is they span off the actual postal offices, the post offices, into a separate company called Post Office Counters Limited. And what happened is that in the late 90s, they decided to modernise their systems, and they hired a big Japanese company called Fujitsu to build a new system called Horizon, which was an electronic till management system for the post offices.
Yeah, but go back a little bit. Now, some of these postmasters, these are they're run out of their houses, some of them.
Yeah, so the way it tends to work here is, yes, because we're a much smaller country than you. These have never been government buildings. To operate a post office is you are like a franchisee, and you are trained by the post office, and you have an official title, sub postmaster, and you very often you represent your community. You are like you're like, kind of like a civic leader, because running the post office in many small communities is often the way most people will interact with the government. You get your benefits checks. You get your you do a lot of civic stuff like your driving license, your passports, and stuff like that through the post office. And so, in a smaller community, and even in smaller parts of much bigger communities, you would get to know the people who run your post office, and they would know you. They really were kind of representatives of the community, and that. And being a postmaster kind of was a little bit of a leg up from just being a shop retailer, and so these people, very often were had been, and it's kind of like a career. So operating a post office for probably ever since we started having them in this country was like a career. It's almost like a vocation. So most people who operated post offices had been doing it for many, many years. In some cases, doing it, taking on the same business that their parents did. Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of the background to this. So they decided to bring in this new system, Horizon. And what happened in the late 90s onwards is that all of a sudden these postmasters, who many, as I say, been many of them been operating their things for years, started finding losses. They would balance up the end of the day and find that they were, a few £100 up to a few £1,000 short, according to the Horizon system. And they would ring the helpline and say what's going on, and they what eventually happened is the post office all said, well, Horizon is always right, so you must have stolen the money, or somebody in your business must have stolen the money. And because the post office was part of the government, it has commitments to maintain what we call the universal service of posting every day, and posts arriving every day, and how quickly letters, much like USPS does. But it also has then special powers to help it do that, including the ability to launch private investigations and prosecutions of postmasters. And this is what it started doing, and it prosecuted hundreds and hundreds of people, and many of them were compelled to say they were guilty even though they weren't, because the way this system worked was that you would ring up the helpline and say, I'm £1,200 short today, and the money's that it's an error, and what they would say is, well, just correct it so you can close your accounts for tomorrow. And so they would do a manual correction, and those would build up over time as a debt. Right, and eventually the post office say, right, now you've got to pay this money back. And they go, well, we haven't got the money, and we don't agree we ever lost the money. And they would go, no, you've got to pay it back. And if people then refused, they were taken to court, and the evidence presented was, well, on this day you saw there was a deficit and you just zeroed it out, so you must be guilty of stealing that money by definition. And it's been going on for many, many years. And then a couple of weeks ago, about 3-4 weeks ago, the one of the TV companies here did a 5-part docudrama about it.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's right. Where basically it went through this. It's been acknowledged for some time that this was a scandal. That in fact the post office was covering up the fact that their system didn't work properly.
Correct.
And was going after people who actually had done nothing wrrong. Right, and it's been
completely innocent people were losing their lives. Some of them went to jail. I mean, it's awful what these people went through.
That's been known and accepted by everybody for at least the last decade, and yet making it right by getting these convictions overturned. Each one has to go through a really long legal court process, and then there's 3 or 4 different compensation schemes to try and claim money back for losses and what have you. It's all been taking a long time.
So let's back up right for a second. Let's pause.
Yeah.
The article that I listed from Ars Technica, and they did a really good job of this, by the way. Between 1999 and 2015, so we're talking 16 years here, more than 900 sub-postmasters and postmistresses were prosecuted for theft and false accounting after money appeared to be missing from their branches. But the prosecutions were based on evidence from faulty Horizon software. Horizon is Fujitsu, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes, the camera film company. Some sub-postmasters, that's not easy to say sometimes, wrongfully went to prison. Many were financially ruined. Some have since died.
Yep. And of those 900, I think so far, the number of people who've had the cases...
93.
93. So 10%. And the rest is still going through the thing.
And
most
several
of them
suicides because of this.
Yeah, most of them haven't received any money. In fact, the guy, Alan Bates, who is the guy who was the principal subject of the docudrama, received his compensation offer last week, and he said it was a sixth of what I felt I was owed, and I've had forensic accounting go through. And he said it's a joke. Because of this TV drama, all of a sudden, and there's an election year this year, all of a sudden the government has woken up and gone, we must do something about this. But they've been doing nothing about it for 20 years.
Well, but to be fair, a lot of the people that are up for election and stuff, you say the government hasn't done nothing for 20 years, but most of the people in your government hasn't been in their position for 20 years. And it does take, this is why a free press is so important, people. You just don't understand if you don't. You got to have a free press that can question these things, that can put something on TV like this, that can bring attention to an injustice or human suffering or whatever it is. You got to have a free press.
Because it's an election year, because I think ordinarily this would have generated
the moment it hits the TV in a 4-part series like this, I think even without an election year, something would have been done because it's so egregious.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know.
They're so cynical.
No, well, I've seen it happen. I know.
Yeah, I know.
I know how our government works.
Yeah.
And it's very easy for a minister to come out and defend whatever they're doing and say they're doing their best, and then walk away and hope that it leaves the news cycle. And if it does, then
they'll do nothing.
Then, well, they'll go back to the status quo.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, they're not doing nothing. They have had compensation schemes, and these things are going through the courts. The difficulty is our processes take so long, and you can't help wondering if there is an element of saying, well, the longer we take, the cheaper it is, because the people die off, and then we don't have to pay them. And that sort of thing as well and this isn't the only compensation scandals going on in the UK at the moment. There's another one over tainted blood products that people received in the 80s, and it gave them HIV. And that's been going on for even longer, and it's still not resolved, and people haven't had their money. There are people who settled here in the 50s from the Caribbean who were invited to come and stay, and the government threw out their records, and now they've been forced to prove they've got a right to stay here, otherwise they get deported. They've been living here for 50, 60 years, and they are due compensation, and that's not been happening, and that's been going on for 7 or 8 years as well. So this is endemic in our system, unfortunately. It's just interesting that you've got this confluence of events that with the election and a very high-profile TV drama, all of a sudden people are talking about this and are saying it's not good enough. The Prime Minister has now announced that they will effectively write legislation to pardon all of these postmasters this year, which is unheard of, because normally our legal system and our parliamentary system have a separation. We don't normally do that sort of pardons in this country. So that will get rid of the legal stain, but the compensation scheme is still going to go bumbling on. And look, I know how government works. Everyone will be scrambling around going, we need to make sure that people who don't deserve it don't get any money. And that's what the schemes are designed to do.
Yep.
They're not designed to pay out. They're designed to make sure that only the right people get the right amount of money. And this is a case where you've got to say, well, it's been 20 years. Actually, what we just need to do is settle everything and accept that we will probably pay some thieves some money. But you know what? It's the number of people involved versus the damage it's doing to these people's lives means that that's a risk worth taking. And that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
But, it's
an interesting story. And, Fujitsu, I think, should get more of a black eye than they have.
They have now. First of all, they have come. I mean, obviously, the people in Fujitsu today had very little to do with this because this was 20 years ago. But they have come out and said, we are responsible. We need to pay money into the compensation fund. And they've also withdrawn from all government contracts they're involved with at the moment. So I think Fujitsu recognised that finally, after all this publicity, real rapid action was required and have taken it. But the difficulty is, but effectively, the post office's attitude was always even though they knew that the system generated errors, they kept on telling everyone, "Oh, the system's always right; it never gets it wrong."
Yep.
And if the money's showing up as negative, that means you must have taken it, and that was their default position. And that's
shameful.
the real scandal. It's a real scandal, is because they deliberately covered it up, and went after people who they knew had done nothing wrong.
Speaking of doing something wrong, this was kind of an interesting. I found this on Gizmodo, which I don't usually visit very often because they've gone downhill. They're clickbait crap. But they've got a good one. Music piracy is back. And to be honest with you, I knew about this because I've used these services to get music that we play when we were doing the themes and stuff like that on the Geeks Pub.
Call the police.
Yeah, call the police. We're bad. People wanting to download music. Now, back in the early days, that was Napster.
Yep.
And then it was LimeWire and that stuff.
That's right. And then it was the Pirate Bay and the torrent sites.
Yep. And now, all this music is on YouTube. Now, you and I know that the audio quality of music on YouTube is pretty awful. Most of it was uploaded not by a record company in the highest quality, but someone uploading their MP3. So now it's been 3 times compressed.
Yeah.
And it just sounds terrible. But if you just want to listen to a quick song, YouTube's there. Go ahead and listen to it. It's fine. But if you're going to listen to music, you're never going to use YouTube for that. It's fine if you're driving in the car and the window's down. Who cares? But people want to. I think there's an inherent thing with a lot of people is to own it, to have it. So if my internet goes down, I can still listen to this music. So they're using these websites that you simply put the YouTube URL in, and it will download it as an MP3 to your computer.
Yep.
And that is the new piracy thing. Now, these sites get shut down all the time, but for every one that goes down, 50 more pop up. It's whack-a-mole.
Well, not only that, I mean, there are many, many apps available that will do this for you as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, just as an example, on my Mac, I have Audio Hijack Pro.
Yeah.
I can record any sound that's coming out of my computer. I don't have to give it a URL.
Yeah, but with that, that was always Sony's way of giving you access to digital music, was where you can record it in real time.
Yeah.
And the mini disc used to do that. I remember, if you wanted to get mini disc music off a mini disc, you could record it in real time. But nobody wants to do that. They want to download a digital file. But there are loads and loads of YouTube downloader apps that do the same thing the websites do.
Which, by the way, Google will happily show you about, and Google owns YouTube, which I think is kind of ironic.
Yeah, exactly. And some of these apps are paid products. There's certainly plenty on the Mac that effectively you just browse YouTube through the app, or you feed it a URL, and it will either give you the video or the audio or both into a file that you can then run on your computer. And as you say, at lousy quality. But let's face it, we were talking about people before listening to music on the speaker coming out the bottom of their smartphone. There are plenty of people who don't care about quality. It's always been the case. You didn't care back in the day when you were listening to an AM radio, if there was a radio station that played the sort of music you liked, because you could hear it, even if it wasn't, brilliant hi-fi sound. We all like hi-fi sound, but we'll take whatever we can get if we like the tune.
What interested me more about this article was the comments and the discussion.
Yeah.
The very first one at the top, he writes something that when buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing. Well, no,
right.
Doesn't really work that way, bud. And his point, this guy's point was, hey, I bought a bunch of music on Google's music store. They killed the service. I lost all my music. Well, You didn't, because if you would have downloaded it and they gave you plenty of opportunity to do so, you'd still own that music. You just have the files locally. They weren't encrypted. You could still listen to them. And he's like, well, they just closed it down, so I can't listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
But you lost it. You had an opportunity to get it. If you lost your CD, that doesn't mean you get to go to Walmart and just take a CD off the rack.
Take another one.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way. But I do understand the fear of buying music from Apple Music, or is that the only one you can buy music from anymore? Amazon Music? Can you still buy music there? I don't even know. Streaming is just taking over so much. I don't know where you can legally buy music anymore. I really don't.
Well, so streaming is a good example, actually, because with streaming, you can download the songs locally to your device. With Spotify, you can tag any song you want, and some of them have it turned off, but most of them, you can download that to your device, and you can listen to it offline. But you still have to keep paying Spotify. If you don't have an account with Spotify, if you stop paying them and they cease your account, then you can't run the app and you can't listen to the songs. They're paywalled inside the app, right? And also as well, I used to have.
But you didn't actually buy that song. You just downloaded it as part of your subscription.
Yeah, what you're paying for is the right to listen to that song through the service.
Correct.
And most people don't realise, or they don't seem to understand that that's what they're doing. And we've had this before with Amazon. We had it, I remember quite a few years ago, there was a situation where people had bought an ebook and then Amazon lost the rights to it and they basically disabled the ebook. And people go, yeah, but I paid for it. It's like, well, yeah, but you didn't. You didn't read the terms of service. And the terms of service are actually you paid for a license to read that. And if they lose the license, they gets taken away sometimes, depending on their terms and conditions. It's... and even with physical media, you were buying a single copy of it, and if you, like you say, if you lost the CD, you scratched the CD, you broke the CD, you couldn't go and ask the record company for another one. Yeah, because they go, fine, go out and buy another one. The problem is an awful lot of these arguments that people who pirate make are based on the predilection that they don't want to pay for the music. And so they come up with all of these straw man arguments, right? A lot of which are bogus. The big one is always, well, yeah, I owned it back in the day and now I can't play it anymore, so therefore I've got the right to copy it again. Well, legally you don't. And certainly going to sketchy sites that are, listing lots and lots of music that you don't own and you download those as well, it's a straw man argument. It doesn't really stack up.
Yep.
Now, traditionally record companies have gone for the people who enable these things rather than the individuals, though occasionally they do go for the... Wasn't there a lady who son had pirated a whole load of songs and the record company decides to make an example of her and hit her with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fines?
Yep.
And I can't remember how that case resolved, but...
they were liable. They never got out of having to pay that.
Yeah. So, look, you and I have both admitted on this show that we have done this in the past. We've all done it, yeah? But don't...
I admit nothing.
Don't fool yourself that you're, you're not liable for the things... You've got to take responsibility. Nobody nowadays takes responsibility for the things they do. It's always somebody else's fault.
Yep.
We've all done it, and if somebody calls you up over it, you can't turn around and say, "Oh, it's not fair for reasons." It is the truth is, if you don't like the system we have, then you need to lobby your congressman or your MP to try and get it changed. Good luck with that, because getting copyright law changed is not easy. But that is the system we have. Yeah. Yep. That is the system we have, and it is tilted not in our favour.
But it never has been.
It never has been, even back in the day when you and I are both old enough to remember when they were trying to put levies on blank tapes.
Yep.
Because they said, well, the only reason to buy a blank cassette tape is to copy an LP, a record.
They weren't wrong.
And have... and the music industry said we deserve compensation for that.
Yep.
I don't think they got very far with that. They did the same with the video recorder.
Yes.
You know, when the video recorder came out, they wanted those banned first, and then they said people are going to pirate movies, and you shouldn't have the right to record a movie off the TV and watch it again. The media companies have always done everything to try and limit your ability to do what you feel is right. And the only way to limit that is to use the parliamentary system to get the laws changed, unfortunately. But going away and thinking that you're some sort of Robin Hood liberating music from YouTube.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's it for this episode of TechFan. We hope that you guys have been listening to Geeks Pub. We started something new over there. We're doing a superhero movie bracket competition. We started with 16 movies, and David and I think we only had 1 or 2 coin flips. And we are down to 4 movies battling for who's going to be the champion in season 1. And that's Captain America, the Winter Soldier against Batman 1989. And then the 2000 X-Men against Venom 2018. So that will be on the next Geeks Pub if you want to see how that bracket turns out. Tune in. We're going to probably, I don't know if we're going to do the champion next week, but we're at least going to get to the final 2. And then we're going to start a new one. We're going to do this again because it was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed it. We hope you guys are enjoying it. So make sure you check us out. It's geekspubpodcast.com. You can find it on any one of the podcast apps out there, including Apple's that we talked about earlier. Check out the show. In the meantime, go ahead.
Yeah. I'd also say anybody out there who has purchased a Vision Pro, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, definitely. We would like to get Owen on the show because I know he worked on that project. Owen Rubin.
And also anybody out there who's bought a Humane AI Pin.
Yeah.
Definitely like to hear from you.
Yeah, that's the chance of anyone listening to the show having one of those is practically nil. David, my friend, good talking to you this week. I'll see you again in a week.
See you then. Bye.